Wow, it's crazy. I was having camera issues, and because I'm not a cameraman, I didn't know I had issues. But we've got the picture, hopefully, a lot clearer today. And we've got a fragrance from the house of Versace that I know many of you guys have been considering. So strap up, let's go for that ride. All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. Hey, listen, today from the house of Versace, we have Eau Fraiche Extreme Pour Homme. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, and normally I have like a nice bright light set up here. We'll have to fix that. I'm kind of on the fly with this episode. But I know a lot of people have been checking out this fragrance, and so we are going to get it cracking and let you guys know if it's something you need to get your nose on. For reference, I do have Eau Fraiche OG, and so we will refer to that to do some comparisons to see what the major differences are. But for today, we're just going to look, or not for today, but for this episode, we're going to put kind of an emphasis on Eau Fraiche Extreme. This fragrance, let me see if I can pull up some notes for it real quick before we get into this. There we go. So this is classified as a men's fragrance, eau de parfum concentration. That's one of the main differences versus the eau de toilette OG. And this is classified as an extreme. So before we dive into initial impressions, eau fraiche means fresh water. And so you have the fresh water, which is the lightest concentration, being at 1 to 3% perfume oil concentration, whereas the other one is much higher. To what extent, we aren't told, but it is official eau de parfum concentration. So it should be north of 15%, if I'm not mistaken. Eau Fraiche Extreme has a 3.76 out of 5, only 800 votes, whereas Eau Fraiche, which has been around a lot longer than the eau de toilette concentration, has a 4.14 out of 17,000 votes. It's been around much longer. I think that fragrance was released in 2006, so significantly longer it's been around. This is a woody aromatic fragrance, and it came out in 2025, so just last year. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. We're going to do two sprays on the wrist. And do we have a test strip? We do. Lather up with 4 sprays on the test strip. Sorry, this episode's a bit sloppy, especially on such a requested video, but you know, sometimes you just gotta go, guys. You gotta get the camera on or it'll never go. So the original was supposed to imitate, you know, getting out of a swimming pool, basically. That's why the iconography and artwork for that fragrance was very much like looking at a fancy pool on the inside. You know, it's got the blue tiles and things like that. So like a freshwater fragrance with citrus, smells like pool water essentially. That's what I got from that fragrance before. So I do expect a citric floral ramp up in this one. This one definitely punches a lot more aromatically off skin. The citrus is juicier. It still has a light, airy freshness, but it almost is similar to Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue, how they came out with the Eau Intense. This is a significant double up of everything you got in the original, and it even has a little bit more character. Sometimes you got to be careful when you ramp up concentration, because to get the concentration higher, you can just inject one note into a fragrance to up the concentration. So sometimes houses will emphasize certain notes and boost them in terms of the oil concentration, and then some fragrances will try to build up all the elements equally so that they maintain the scent and not remix the scent. This definitely feels like a bit of both, actually. Really good scent, 4 seasons, spring, summer emphasis, but 4 seasons, fresh and juicy. This is robust, juicy citrus with a light aromatic touch of florals in the background. Very inoffensive, non-sweet, non-characteristic florals, just kind of like an airy freshness in the back. I definitely get a good dose of lavender as well, but it's mostly a green citric experience, a watery experience. Let's go ahead and switch screens here to get some Some notes. So top notes, orange blossom, lemon, pink pepper. It's not peppery. Lavender, clary sage, bourbon geranium. I get a good injection of geranium. Ambrox and musk and Virginia cedar. So similar to the Eau Fraiche OG, you should get plenty of performance off of this. Let's compare it to the note pairings of the OG. So you have that star anise, I believe. Carambola starfruit. I think that's star anise if I'm not mistaken. Tarragon, a little bit different in there. Saffron. So this just kind of ramps up the main elements of the fragrance. Love that orange blossom up top. It just creates this kind of 5-star freshness over it. But it does feel somewhat casual to upscale casual at best. Again, this is the new note pyramid versus the original Eau de Toilette, which seems to be a lot more light and airy. Yeah, this is nice. I'm not mad at it. Longevity seems to be moderate. I think you should be able to get 6 hours plus on this as long as you overspray. But yeah, definitely a great fragrance. Some comparisons that they suggest is obviously going to be the OG. Oh, that's cool. They got Santa Maria Novella there. That's kind of hard to get for most of you folks, especially since they're in the $300 price point. But myself, YSL, myself, Eau de Parfum, and Le Parfum seem to be in there, with the Eau de Parfum being the closest. And let's go ahead and wrap up some notes for you guys. Let me pull up my menu here. For men, this is ageless. Very easy wear. I find it to be more interesting than Versace Pour Homme, Dylan Blue, Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue, things like that. So in the freshies, in the citric freshies category, I do think this not reigns supreme, but is definitely cream of the crop. It's not something you haven't smelled before, but it's a richer, fuller experience of something you're very familiar with. Four Seasons, again, with the spring-summer emphasis. I think this is a daytime fragrance. I think because of the concentration ramp-up, this should hold up more composed as a fragrance in the heat if you're on the West Coast or if you're just in hot seasons. Performance, I'm easily going to say this clocks around the 4 to 6 hour range. 6 hours plus skin scent. And let's just check the price point real quick. I'm clocking this fragrance at, and it came out, it was like $200-300, I believe was the retail price. I think you should be able to comfortably get this fragrance around the $100 price point. 50 mils, $75, testers, $85, 100 mils, $100, and 200 mils, $132. I do think, you know, for the $132 price point, a 200 mil of this fragrance, I think you guys would make use of it and kind of go through and make, you know, use all of that. So paying a little bit more, which is closer to kind of our familiar retail price point that we're used to get a Four Seasons fragrance that's dumb reach, that still feels classy. I think I would consider, you know, if you have Eau Fraiche Extrême, I think that would consolidate most of your freshies and citruses and aromatic fragrances to where you have this in a 200 mil. And then you just get some casual or upscale casual citrus fragrances that are a little more fun, maybe flirtatious, maybe unique. But this is going to be your no-think, you know you smell good and fresh, and it's not boring. I always found the original Eau Fraiche to be somewhat boring, somewhat linear. Matter of fact, let me spray that on skin just to kind of get a field test on how each of them feels on skin. The original smells closer to kind of the chlorine pool water feel, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this is a good smell. It's just less aromatic, less juicy citrus, more of that fresh water, chlorine pool feel. It does smell really nice, though. This is just juicier, but because it's juicier in the geranium and lavender, it's going to imitate so many fragrances you're familiar with from, you know, Bentley and Jimmy Choo and Dylan Blue and Coach Blue and Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. But I do think it's got more growl than a lot of those. So really, it just comes down to your preference of light or heavy wear. Both will hold up really well in sun, but some people want to feel more of an aura that's close to skin, and some people want people to notice them. And so that's where you would pick between the two. The Extreme is louder, more robust projection, a little bit sweeter, a little bit more fruitier in terms of the citrus nature, a little more aromatic. The other one is more just almost a glorified skin scent, fresh pool water kind of feel. And both do last. I just think this is going to give you more lasting power in the projection. Again, ageless fragrance. The price point is safe, you know, 70 to 120 bucks. You can pick any size that you want. It's readily available just about anywhere. I think the only alternatives is just going to be fancier citrus fragrances that have decent longevity. Dolce & Gabbana Forever, Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue Eau Intense, Dylan Blue, Mont Blanc Legend Spirit. And there's a lot more blues and stuff. I mean, one that kills this, that to me is just elite tier, would be Salvatore Ferragamo's Aqua Essenza Blue. It's just a little more interesting than this, a little bit more well-refined, same longevity, but it goes powdery a little bit, you know, whereas this stays kind of water fresh. This is kind of a slightly surreal, coming out of a bright blue ocean water type of scent with an emphasis in citrus and aromatic florals. The citrus being a kind of lemon, you know, a generic lemon, but it's not too synthetic or anything like that. Loads of Ambroxan as well to give it that punch. As a score, I give it an 8. It's above average just due to the composition and balance and blend. It's not the moon and the stars. It's not signature, but you will smell better than just about most people effortlessly. I'm at just a solid 8, and I don't think it's pushing towards a 9. If you're used to the dumb reach cheapies at Ross, TJ Maxx, and all those places, this will be a significant upgrade for you, I think. But once you're a collector of any caliber, you might need to put a couple other ones in your mix. The Salvatore Ferragamo Aqua Essenza. Again, we're not even talking niche at this point. Aqua Essenza is just hard to beat, you know, in that category of cheap blue. Bleu de Chanel, if you want more of the aromatic forest experience, less watery, stuff like that. Versace Eros, if you want something a little more flirtatious and romantic. Yeah, great fragrance. Solid 8 for me. Again, this was Versace's Eau Fraiche Extreme. I do think it's worth the money. I do think it has a buttload of utility. Between the two, I like both of them. They're two different weight classes to me. You know, Eau Fraiche is the lightweight but solid performer and solid fragrance. Eau Fraiche is kind of more of your middle weight type of fragrance, juicier, punchier. And that always isn't desired. Like, I could see use cases for both. Like, maybe Eau Fraiche is more office and school appropriate, whereas Eau Fraiche Extreme goes into the evening more, or if you're outdoors, can stand up longer, you know, more gym scenty, where you can come out of the gym with this fragrance, where you would go into the gym with Eau Fraiche. You know, there's just a bunch of case scenarios in my mind that I walk through, but this is a solid offering. Again, it's nothing you haven't seen before, but if you're just a guy needing a really good fragrance and you don't have a lot in your collection and you need something you can use all the time, this is fantastic. So in that regard, definitely make sure you get your nose on it. And I'm so glad the price has come down since its release, because I think its retail price out the gate was like $200-300, which is absolutely absurd. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this review. Like, comment, subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. Talk to me. I do talk back. And again, let me know if you rock this or what your alternative is to this, if you think something is better, at least in the designer world. I mean, I really feel like if you want to go up to niche category in this profile, Serjoff's Mephisto or Mephisto Gentiluomo just can't be beat. I challenge anyone to give me a niche fragrance that simple and better. It's what Silver Mountain Water should have been, and it has all the performance in the world, and it's just so effortlessly luxurious. And surprisingly, you can get Gentiluomo and Mephisto around the $120 to $130 price point. So if you want to just hop up to niche level for just $20-30 extra, definitely do so, because those will consolidate everything. I mean, I think in today's world on the blue category, and I have tons of blues, if you have Aqua Essenza Blue and either Mephisto or Gentiluomo, you probably won't revisit the blue category ever again. And unless you want Bleu de Chanel because you feel like you need it, but you don't, or Versace Eros Original, Dylan Blue, things like that. But disregard it, man. Just trust my nose here. This one's pretty tried and true in terms of, I think I've figured out the blue category. There's more interesting and unique and signature blues, but the more signature you get with a blue, the less Four Seasons and less versatile it is. So that's a conversation for another show. But I hope you guys stay blessed and hope you enjoyed this episode. Talk to you soon. Peace.